Thank you, Jason. I want to thank everyone for being here. My name is Larry Disparti, the owner of Disparti Law Group. We're here today to announce that we are filing a lawsuit against the City of Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and Superintendent David Brown on behalf of our client, Dakota Early. On May 6, 2022, Mr. Early was attacked and shot by an individual by the name of Tyshawn Brownlee. Mr. Early and his mom, Joy, contacted our office and asked about any potential legal recourse that they may have. Our team went to work and we investigated, and what we found was that the police department had opportunity from May 4th through May 6th to put an end to Mr. Brownlee's crime spree, which ultimately led us to the question of why did they not stop this crime spree from happening, which could have prevented these horrible injuries to Mr. Early. So with that, I just want to introduce our legal team, and they'll talk more about the theories and the evidence we have and what this is going to look like. Thank you. Casper?
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, everyone, for being here on behalf of Disparti Law Group. Again, my name is Casper. I'm one of the attorneys on the legal team who will be handling this case on behalf of Dakota and his mother, Joy. On May 4th, 2022, Tyshawn Brownlee began a violent rampage throughout the north side and loop areas of the city of Chicago. His rampage continued through May 4th, May 5th, all the way up until May 6th of 2022, culminating in the shooting 3 times of Dakota, twice in the head, once in the back. Mr. Brownlee and his crew left Dakota on the sidewalk in the Lincoln Park area fighting for his life, which is an understatement. Miraculously, Dakota was taken to the hospital, and up until this day, he continues his road to recovery. I am going to make a few comments about what Dakota experienced at the hospital. There was a brief moment in time where, according to his doctors, he was no longer with us. That is to say, he was briefly dead as a result of his injuries. Miraculously, he fought through that. Dakota's a fighter, and he had, over the course of time since the shooting, he's now approaching what will be his 14th surgery to recover from these injuries. That one is coming up in early March of this year. Dakota suffered multiple amputations to his left leg. He has cognitive issues today that still affect him, although he can talk. He's in great spirits. He's looking forward to the justice in this case, but his recovery is very much ongoing. Let me switch gears and talk about the legal theory of this case and why we have determined that there is a basis for liability against Mayor Lightfoot and Superintendent Brown in the city of Chicago. We have uncovered through our pre-suit investigation that there were numerous instances between May 4th and May 6th of 2022 that the police could have intervened to stop Tyshawn Brownlee and his crew's violent rampage. Most notably, according to our investigation, within 1 hour before the shooting of Dakota on May 6th, the police had contact with OEMC dispatchers where they were told of the precise whereabouts near Soldier Field of the stolen BMW that Mr. Brownlee was driving. Indeed, it goes a step further. The police actually started pursuing Mr. Brownlee in the vicinity of Soldier Field. Again, this is 1 hour before the shooting. For reasons that we believe create the biggest basis for liability, the police called off the pursuit of Mr. Brownlee. There's a radio dispatch where the police officers and dispatchers are talking about cutting off the pursuit of Mr. Brownlee, letting him go, whereon the police would go back to the station and file an eluding report. This is 1 hour, folks, before the shooting occurred. We submit, if the police had continued their pursuit of Mr. Brownlee and his stolen BMW, it would have prevented this entire chain of events and the disaster that happened to Dakota within just an hour later. All they had to do was to continue to tail Mr. Brownlee and make an effort to stop him. But they didn't. Which leads to a very important question. Why? Why didn't they continue pursuing Mr. Brownlee and prevent this awful tragedy. We believe that the exact reason for that is not anything that the rank and file officers are responsible for. It is a department systemic problem, and it comes from one of a series of non-pursuit policies that were passed by the city of Chicago in haste in 2020 and revised throughout 2021 up through 2022. The non-pursuit policies are what put the police officers in the unenviable position where they could not do their jobs, which was, in this instance, just to continue to pursue Mr. Brownlee. All they had to do. We know expressly, in fact, that the police officers who were on the radio dispatch they themselves cited, they admitted that it was the non-pursuit policy that tied their hands, that prevented them from continuing the chase of Mr. Brownlee, because those rank and file officers, they were afraid of the administration coming after them with discipline, with blame, with degradation in the news if they continued their pursuit. They were worried about possible criminal liability if they continued their suit. They were worried about being sued if they continued their pursuit in violation of the department's policy. Accordingly, our lawsuit is geared toward that non-pursuit policy, the series of those policies. We believe that those policies were passed without proper consideration of the effect on members of the public and victims of crime such as Dakota. They were not taken into account in the passage of those policies. At no point during the passage of those policies was the plight of citizens and the plight of crime victims taken into bona fide consideration in the drafting of those policies. Accordingly, our legal theory is that the state, the city of Chicago, created the danger of this exact event happening to Mr. Early. The city of Chicago government, Superintendent Brown, Mayor Lightfoot, they created and increased the danger that Dakota Early would be a victim of this crime when they passed the non-pursuit policy. That's the basis of our lawsuit. We've got a 2-count complaint. There's copies over on the table behind you. Just as a formal matter, the complaint is that Mr. Early's rights under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment were violated by the state passing this non-pursuit policy and increasing the danger that he would be the victim of a crime as a result. There is a substantial basis in law to support that theory. We've cited other cases in the body of the complaint that are not exactly on point, but we submit very similar to what happened to Mr. Early. In those cases, the judges, the courts let the plaintiffs go forward on the theory that their injuries were caused by the state's action. Here, again, passing that non-pursuit policy. So that's the theory of our complaint. We filed it this morning. We've been assigned a judge already. We're in the process of sending out the summonses to the defendants. I anticipate we'll have that done, if not at the end of the day today, tomorrow. And then we will it will be up to the court to set a schedule on the case. We anticipate the city will make an initial effort to fight the lawsuit, which we will respond vigorously to oppose them throwing the case out. And then we'll go into the discovery phase where we continue our investigation using depositions allowed by the court, written discovery and documents allowed by the court. So in a nutshell, that's the lawsuit that we filed on behalf of Mr. Early. There's a few additional points on damages that our team wants to reference. So for that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Amanda Martin. Amanda?
Thanks, Cass. Good morning. For those of you who have followed Dakota since the shooting, you know him to be a fighter and a survivor. So, in part to get justice, law allows us to bring suits for monetary compensation. We're seeking full and complete compensation for Mr. Early. What is that? That is for every second of terror he experienced in Lincoln Park that night on the street, for every moment he spent fighting for his life in a hospital bed, for the 14 surgeries he has had to endure, for every second he has spent trying to regain the ability to speak, to express his thoughts, to walk, to return to his normal life, for having an amputation surgery on his 24th birthday, for every moment he has spent fighting to get back to the path he had put himself on. As a culinary arts student, Dakota had dreams and ambitions, goals to serve the community, in part through nourishment, as a chef, as a cook. We believe he will still achieve those goals. It is our honor and our privilege to fight on his behalf at Disparti Law Group. We will be seeking compensation for every single moment that he will have to continue to spend because he's still on a journey relative to his recovery. We also have the hope that this suit sparks dialogue, thoughtful dialogue and consideration, as Cass mentioned, between the city relative to this policy of non-pursuit and whether in fact it's preventing harm as it was intended to do, or whether in fact it's creating harm, which is what we contend it has been doing. As you know, Joy Dobbs and Dakota are here with us today, and I'll now bring them up to the podium so that they can make some statements relative to Dakota's progress. Recovery. Thanks.
So I guess want to give a little bit of information on how Dakota is doing. He has one more surgery that is coming up. So I believe this surgery is number 14. It's to reverse his stoma because he has a colostomy bag and due to the injuries from the bullet to his side, it put a lot of stress on his organs. So the physicians wanted to give those organs some time to get back to reproducing. They felt like he was young and that he would heal well, but just to give his body some time. And so next month that surgery will happen. We're working through physical therapy, learning how to use the prosthetic properly, which is a feat in itself. There takes some time to even put the prosthetic on, which is not easy for a mom to watch. Dakota started walking when he was 11 months old, and it was always a joyous occasion. And now to have to see my 24-year-old son get frustrated because he doesn't have a kneecap, it hurts. And it's hard. And I know it's hard on him and it's hard on his family to have to support him in this way. Mentally, he's doing well. He has his ups and downs. He likes being with his family. He liked being with his family before, but he really needs us now. He's still one of the best kids I know. He has siblings, and they're good kids as well, but Dakota is still in a great state of mind. He's just still the nicest kid. You know, he's walking and he's talking. We're talking about colleges, going back to school, losing somewhat of a passion for culinary, although he cooked a beautiful breakfast this morning that I was not, that I did not get any of because I was asleep. So he enjoyed this breakfast all by himself, but it smelled really good. So, you know, he's still definitely cooking and doing things that he loves to do. You know, I've told people before he loves kombucha. He likes different types of teas. He's into anime. He's into manga. He likes to terrorize his little sister. You know, he's still Dakota. He's still dancing, you know, like he, you know, still, you know, does his little dances, which he cannot dance, but, you know, he's still attempting to do it. You know, it's we're moving forward, and it's a process. It's definitely a club that neither of us signed up for, to be victims of violence. As a family, we have to live with the fact that not only did we see what happened to him, but everybody had to see what happened to him, and it terrorized a lot of people. Even at the point where somebody has a gun in your face and is robbing you is terrorizing. So I can imagine what other people have gone through this crime spree that was being committed. We're just trying to move forward, make sure that Dakota has all the resources that are available to him, keep him in good spirits, and sometimes I have to be a mom and really jump on him to make sure he's doing what he's supposed to do. That has not changed. But he is still an innocent kid through all of this. He was innocent before, and he's still innocent now, and doesn't technically believe that everybody is walking around ready to commit crimes against him. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Dakota. Just a couple other brief points. Number one, we want to call for evidence from rank and file police officers. With this lawsuit, our intent is not to attack the rank and file police officer of the city of Chicago who's out there just trying to do their job. We all know that it's a tough environment for cops to do their jobs these days with all the pressure they're under. But if you're a rank and file police officer and you have information about how this non-pursuit policy has hampered your ability to do your job, we would like to hear from you here at Disparti Law Group, your perspective about how that policy has impacted you. It's very important that folks come forward and assist us to get Dakota and Joy the justice that they deserve. Second point I want to make is Dakota and Joy and their family have put together a GoFundMe account to help Dakota pay only for his medical bills and for his recovery. We're going to circulate that link among all the attendees here today, and we're hoping everyone will link it and that folks in the community can open their hearts and help Dakota through that GoFundMe pay his medical bills and pay for his recovery, which is, as you can imagine, exorbitant costs. So with that, that's all I have today. That's all we have today. I want to thank Dakota and Joy for having the courage to come forward and to tackle this lawsuit with Disparti Law Group. And with that, we'll open up for any questions.
This is, as you said, a 2020 law, or policy change rather, policy change. Is there any precedent that you are working off of in other cases where somebody has used this strategy successfully?
Yes, it's cited in the body of the complaint. There's a number of similar cases. There's obviously not a case exactly like this one because this is a very unique situation, but there are cases that are very similar to this one where attorneys filed lawsuits alleging that the state, the government, did something to increase the danger to members of the public that did go to juries or wind up with settlements using that theory. So there is a substantial basis in legal precedent for this kind of legal theory to work in this scenario.
Can we hear from Dakota about how he's doing?
Sure. If he's comfortable, Dakota, are you comfortable addressing the folks? Yeah. Okay, sure, come on up. That's good.
How are you doing during this time? I know this recovery is ongoing and you've gone through so much already. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling kind of fine right now. I'm mostly optimistic most of the time. I mean, you know, you become an amputee and you think stuff was a lot easier and stuff like that. But I'm in good spirits most of the time. I don't know. I don't think about it too much, but then there are days where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or maybe I should have did this, but you know, it could have happened to anyone, honestly, which is the crazy part about it. But I don't know. I mean, I'm still rehabilitating, but I'm fine mostly. Thanks.
Your mom was mentioning that you don't have ill feelings. Can you talk about your feelings? Can you talk about how this has changed you, how you're doing now? I thought that was really interesting.
I think what's changed me is to, I guess, be a lot more careful and pay attention to your surroundings a lot more. I mean, yeah, that person, did that to me, but I mean, I'm definitely mad or sad about it, but like, it's just, I'm gonna have to move on from it,
How do you feel knowing that police were pursuing your attacker just hours before and had the opportunity to continue to chase him and make an arrest?
I'm not sure. That is really crazy. It's kind of just like, I don't know. I mean, I know this person was incredibly dangerous, I guess. They were doing stuff all the time, like robbing people and some days prior, but like, I'm not sure. I mean, it just happened. I don't know.
Are you going to be able to continue your studies, continue the career in culinary?
I definitely could. It would take a while because I'd have to learn how to, stand up on my feet again and stuff like that. But then, yeah. I'm not sure. I think I'm more of like a home cook these days, but I'd rather maybe do something else like computer programming or I'm not sure.
Was that a change because of this accident?
What'd you say?
Is that changed because of the accident or the crime that was committed?
Not necessarily. I've thought about the things, before this has happened to me. It was biscuits, eggs, cheese, and bacon.
I was going to ask that too.
Just a follow-up question. This is where you're finding back on. You don't know me, but I know you, which is kind of strange. I'm also 24, so your story. Hit me and we got pretty hard. I know just like from my perspective, this is such like a crucial turning point in life about what you're going to do. Move into your 20s or 30s. Like, how does this, just change your trajectory? Or how's it made you stop and pause and think about where you want to go from here?
It's definitely changed some things since, like, I was in the hospital and I'm an amputee now, but I feel like as soon as I can learn how to walk and withstand standing up and stuff like that, I can do most of what I would have been able to do a year ago.
And your mom mentioned your family and how important they have been through this whole process. Can you tell me a little bit about how important they have been and how much you've been able to rely on them?
I know when it first happened, my brother and my older sister did come up here, which surprised me a bit too, because, they're busy and stuff like that. But I know, since stuff like that happens, they make time. I know they had bought me some stuff too while I was at the hospital. Like my sister, she had got me some snacks and stuff like that. As soon as I got my wires removed, and I asked for like Captain Crunch and stuff like that. And then my brother got me a new phone case and some other stuff. But yeah, they've been helpful.
But you have another surgery coming, I'm sure you're over it, but what are you thinking as you prepare for that?
For this upcoming surgery? I'm not sure. I'm just really excited for it because, I won't have to worry about, because you have a colostomy bag, and I have to be mindful of when I eat. Like if I eat, like maybe before I go to bed, I might have to set my alarm earlier so my bag doesn't explode and then there's a huge mess. It's like, I know it's crazy, but it's weird how the human body works and how they do something and then it comes out somewhere else. I'm sorry. But yeah.
Do you have any, after this, do they have any idea, are you going to need any more ongoing medical treatments? What does that look like for you?
I'm not not sure really. I think I might have some follow-up visits.
Yeah, yeah, I can kind of comment on that a little bit, like, because of the work that they had to do on his arteries, because they literally had to piece him back together again, because the bullets just tore his arteries up. And so he'll always have to make sure that those arteries are functioning the way that they need to. So that'll always be something that he'll have to do. Yes.
How has this changed your life? When you look forward to the future that you planned before this happened to you, and what you think, what you see for your future now, how has this changed your life? What effect has it had on you day to day?
The one that frustrates me the most is, as of right now, it's kind of annoying to maybe need help with certain things, like getting my wheelchair down the stairs or, yeah, and stuff like that. It's kind of just like, I can do most things if I have space for it. Like, I remember when I first got back home, I wasn't sure if I was able to get through the bathroom door, but I kind of was. So it made a lot of things easier, so.
What helped you survive this?
I remember when I was in the hospital, I played a lot of music, but that kind of helped me a lot, so.
Yeah, yeah, he was a big music thing. And I think the first couple of weeks where he wasn't really cognitive of what was going on, Dakota likes a lot of old school music from like the 90s, like my day. So like SWV and Escape and things like that. So we were trying to play music like that, and then the nurses were picking up the cue, and then they started, playing the music for him. And I was actually able to get someone from SWV. Taj actually sent Dakota a video, and so he was really excited about that. So music has definitely helped him.
What are we listening to?
That's a good question. I've been listening to an artist named Alice Longyu Gao. I think she's Chinese, but she makes like, I think people like to call it hyperpop these days, something like that. I like Karen White as of lately, her song called Superwoman. Let me see. I don't know. I mean, I just listen to a lot of things. Maybe like some video game soundtracks too, but yeah.
I don't know if it's too far ahead, but you guys plan to stay in Chicago.
I think so, as of right now, yeah.
Is there a reason why you want to stay in the city? Like, is it something very tragic, traumatizing happened to you there, and why stay?
I'm not sure. I kind of like the city, like a lot of stuff is accessible without like a car, That's kind of why I came here, so it was nice to work and not have to worry about transportation in a way. And it still is kind of easier, because, I mean, I haven't been taking public transportation as of lately, but like, I don't know, stuff just seems kind of close by. Yeah, mostly. I mean, I'm not sure. It's like, I mean, I know not to go outside at night, but everything's been fine.
What would you say to someone in a similar situation that is facing, kind of the extent of the recovery you did from something similar? What message would you give to them?
That's a good question. I think just push forward. It's just like, it's not necessarily your fault. It's like, I'm not sure. Yeah.
All right, thank you all for being here. We appreciate your time and your questions. We're going to take a few minutes. We were on private conversations, but if anybody has any other questions moving forward, you're welcome to call us or contact us.
I just had a question. The Chicago police, there are literally thousands of carjackings, stolen vehicles. I'm not sure how many of those result in a chase, but they hardly catch anybody. Whether that's because they call off the chase or not, they just vanish into EU arrests. That's probably under 10% in any of these cases. How is this different?
I can address that. Thank you, Dakota. Not sure I can do it. I don't know if I'm loud enough. answer that. It comes down to the specific facts of this case, okay? There is something to be said for, you know, if it were a completely random, unexpected shooting, it would be one thing. But here, in the body of the complaint, we've cited specific facts that, as I already said, up to an hour before this shooting, they were already onto the guy, and they called it off. Look, they would not have had to have arrested him to prevent this. All they had to do was to continue moving to chase him, and that BMW would not have stopped on the street, and it wouldn't have led to Dakota being shot. So it's the specific facts of this case that make it unique and that we believe sets it apart from the other kinds of incidents that you're suggesting.
And a follow-up to that is, these policies exist because they're trying to protect bystanders from, you know, reckless driving by the people that are being pursued, or even the police officers themselves. So that's why they call off, that was why they adopted these policies and why no chase policy was, you know, sort of promulgated across different jurisdictions, right? There's all sorts of jurisdictions that don't do chases, and that is a public safety concern, trying to prevent injuries there. How does that policy, that
Well, it's true, there have been non-pursuit policies around for a long time in Chicago and elsewhere, but there's never been the kind of revamped, let me say, intense kind of non-pursuit policy that was passed on an interim basis in 2020, 2021 after the Adam Toledo shooting. It was those specific policies that ingrained in the minds of the rank and file officers, you are not to chase under any circumstances. Now, it doesn't actually say that, but that's what has been caused in the mindset of these officers from the dialogue and the express letter of these particular non-pursuit policies. So in other words, to do an analogy, it's gone from something that was perhaps of less concern to an officer about whether or not they should engage in a pursuit to now they're told, don't do it. 9 times out of 10, don't do it. And that kind of mindset is what has led to the shooting here, in our view.
Do they have a way of tracking, like when they call off a pursuit? Is there any sort of documentation of that? Like, are we going to be able to quantify this without people calling you and saying, I was in the chase one time? Officers.
So there are things called eluding reports and non-eluding reports that we're aware of, but in terms of other specific documentation, that's something that we need to leave until the discovery process in the lawsuit to learn more about what other kinds of documentation there may be that would talk about that.
You're hoping to hear from the rank and file officers. How would that work logistically? Do you have a hotline? Is this something you can do anonymously, or do they need to call you, give their name, number?
They can call us. We'll keep it anonymous if they want to. Just the general firm number. There's obviously our numbers all over the internet. I know folks are going to be putting it out as part of this. If they just want to call us and they want to remain anonymous, that's fine. We're just looking for information that might lead us to further information to help get justice for Dakota here.
You mentioned that there was a dispatch calling the chase off. Is that available to the media?
I'm not able to speak on that right now. That's part of the lawsuit. Jason.
Thank you. And that phone number, if you want to call, 312-600-6000. So 312-600-6000 is the law firm number, and we'll take that information. Thank you all for joining us today, and we appreciate your coverage.